Okay, we are live now.
We are
We are
live.
live. Once again, live from Flower Mound in our recording studio here with Bally Mendels. My name's Edgar Vasquez, and today we have our guest, as promised from last week. She,
Haley Elders
she's,
with Farmers.
yeah, she's Haley Elder from Farmers. But what I was going to say, thank you for chiming in, Bally.
You're welcome. Got you.
What I was going to say is that she was our sponsor last week, and because she was our, greatest support in our launch, she also gets the first dibs on the opportunity to express and
Yes.
say more about the company and everything. So, well, thank you for being here, Haley. We
Yeah,
love
you're
having you here.
welcome. Yes, I enjoy being here.
How are you doing?
Doing good.
Is this your first podcast ever that you do?
Yes, I believe so. I think I did one once in high school and one little 30-minute interview thing in high school, and that was it. So this is pretty much brand new to me.
It's the same thing for us. It's new to all of us, but I think it's a great opportunity for you to expose, your products, your company, and there's so much misinformation out there when it comes to insurance.
That's all.
And we ended up writing down quite a few questions between me and Edgar because we're still learning about insurance. Obviously, we can talk about mortgages all day long, but everybody else we don't know, so we just kind of pass it on
Yeah,
and let
for
you
sure.
deal with it. But why don't you tell a little bit about yourself as a bio?
Okay. Well, my name, like I said, is Haley Elder. I grew up in East Texas in a town called Kilgore, graduated from high school there, and then I went to Texas Tech out in Lubbock, majored in finance with a concentration in real estate, and I graduated from there in December of last year, so it's almost been a year. And I did my internship with Farmers the summer before I graduated, so summer of 2016. And I stayed on with Farmers through my last semester of college, and then came on full time with the McManus agency as
Okay.
of the beginning of January. And so so far it has been fun. I've learned a ton.
Okay.
But that's a little bit about me. I have a dog, and she's pretty much the best thing. She gets me entertained at night, and that's pretty much a little bit about me.
Okay, so let's ask you questions about insurance. I'm going to start first, just because I have teenage daughters. You have teenagers too.
I do. I have
One
a
and
teenage
then-
boy, so
Ooh.
yeah.
And they're
Okay.
So, question is, tell me about the difference between a person getting liability insurance versus coverage. So, say for example, God forbid this doesn't happen, but my daughter gets into a wreck, and we have liability insurance on our car only. Car is
Okay.
paid in full. Tell me the pros and cons.
Okay. So, liability, I guess I'll give y'all the definition of liability insurance, because I think a lot of people get confused on what liability and full coverage are.
Right.
Liability insurance is just what would cover if you were in an accident and it's your fault, so you hit somebody,
Gotcha.
their damage and their bodily injury. And then you have what also counts as liability, your uninsured, underinsured motorist. So, for example, I got rear-ended a couple weeks ago, and the
Okay.
person behind me fled the scene.
Okay.
So
That doesn't happen at all. Ever.
Yeah, never, ever. So my insurance kicked in, so my uninsured covered the cost because I didn't get their license plate, their driver's license, anything.
Right.
So my insurance just pays out for those damages. So that's what liability is. It's covering the bodily injury and property damage of other people or if other people hit you.
Just not my daughter,
Correct.
unless I have that coverage.
Unless you have that coverage. And that's what people deem as full coverage.
So so it has to be full coverage.
And that is where you
Okay.
have your comprehensive and your collision deductibles. So if it's your fault that you hit somebody, if you had liability only, Farmers or whatever insurance company is not going to pay for the fixing of your car, of your vehicle's damage, unless you had that collision deductible. And then Farmers would pay everything less the deductible.
Okay. So if they got injured, they're not going to get any medical expenses or stuff paid for, right?
Correct.
Now, when you have liability, is there a different portion that you can add on with liability to make sure that you're covered? Or it's just liability only covers the other end?
liability will always only cover the other end.
Gotcha.
You would need what is deemed in most common terms as full coverage
Okay.
for you to get your vehicle repaired in a comprehensive or collision claim.
Gotcha.
So I guess
Yeah.
in terms of teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to Bally's question, you know, she has a daughter that drives a vehicle that is already paid off. You know, what would be your advice to parents such as Bally and Jason, where there's maybe
Yeah.
such a different view as
Jason,
to how
are you
much
watching?
coverage, yeah, to how much coverage they need to have. So, for example, Jason is of the mentality, like many Americans that are out there, who want to save as much as possible on their policy. That's all they care about.
For sure.
So they look at the policy and they look at the bottom line, and they're going to shop and they're going to try to find the best, but they don't necessarily understand what they're protected against. So what would be your recommendation for parents with teenagers that are driving vehicles that are paid off?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because a lot of agents will write the policy to sell it and move on. And coverages are never explained. As a teenage driver, I think that is so important.
Right.
Not only for the parent to know, but for the teenager to know.
Right.
And I guess there's kind of two different questions in here, but I would always say, I know that rates are going up. I know it's expensive to insure a teenager. I was one. Thankfully, my parents, paid for it, and I didn't have to. But looking at the rates now,
Right.
yes, it's a ton of money that goes into it. But what the state requires is called 30, 60, 25, and that's $30,000, $60,000, and $25,000. And the $30,000 covers each person in the vehicle that they hit. $60,000 total per wreck. So if you have more than $60,000, they stop paying out at $60,000, and then $25,000 for property damage. And I know that sounds a lot,
Right.
but in wrecks, I look at people's reports all the time, and I've seen $90,000 in damage. And if you hit somebody, if you cause that wreck and that you incur that bodily injury, then you're in charge. When your insurance maxes out, they're going to sue you. Because,
Right.
they've got medical bills they need to pay, or they need a vehicle that they need to drive, and your insurance
Right.
didn't cover it all because you chose to have the cheapest policy. And
Right.
as a teenager once, I thankfully was never in an accident. But I will say I probably
Knock
put
on wood.
myself, knock
Yeah.
on wood. I put myself in situations that there could have been an accident.
Right.
And it's detrimental that if I would have hit somebody and those limits wouldn't have been increased to something, say, even the next level up, which is $50,000, $100,000, $50,000, which basically doubles your coverage.
Right.
For pennies more a month, it's something to definitely look into.
To get the right protections.
To get the right
coverages.
protection. Yeah,
And,
because
and people have to be aware of the fact, especially in our area, that we're driving in a place where there's a ton of expensive vehicles out there.
$25,000
Yeah.
to go like that in a vehicle.
Very quickly. Yeah, you hit
Yeah.
a Mercedes out there on the road, it's going to be very different than if you're driving in the back roads of Waco, Texas.
Yes.
Where the
Yeah.
communities are probably struggling a little bit more, and your insurances don't necessarily require
Exactly.
that much coverage.
And you have a ton more traffic here. Freeways, more chances to get into an accident. So I would always say having higher limits around here especially is super important. But to go on to the question that you had of the liability versus full coverage is a personal preference.
Right.
So if they're driving around a 1995 pickup truck that already has some dents in it and the resale value is $1,500.
Right.
The likelihood that farmers would total it in an accident is very high.
Right.
So, do you need to pay for that coverage if it's just going to get totaled?
Right.
That is something that is completely up to you and your spouse and your personal finances and what you would find, more cost effective. Would you rather pay into it and then, they cut you a check, or would you rather just not pay into it and, okay, the vehicle's damaged, fine, take it to the scrapyard, let's get a new one.
Right.
Right.
So it's, depends on the miles of the vehicle, the year of the vehicle, and basically what that vehicle's reselling at Kelley Blue Book value.
That's such an eye-opener because my son is 17 now, and he just turned 17, and he started driving, with me for the last 6 months, 8 months, but He's been on his own for the last month only.
Okay.
You know, month and a
Driving by
half,
himself?
driving by himself. No, let's say 2 months, okay? But there's two things that you mentioned that really make me really think about type of coverages that we have and the experience that we had with our agent, because our agent didn't explain any of this to us. At this point, are overinsured, you know, with him in terms of the truck that we have, because we bought him a truck that is kind of like a starter truck.
Yeah.
It's already paid off, and it's you know, it's approximately like, you know, 7 years old, and it probably is not going to have a ton of resale value. You know,
Right.
I can't imagine that Farmers is going to pay a lot of money for that truck, but it's in fantastic shape. So we figured, you know what, the best thing to do probably would be to have, you know, full coverage, you know, and going maybe even over the top on it. But there was no explanation on as far as what we really need and what, you know, coverages we had previously on the truck, and what would be the best advantage for us. So that is something I guarantee you people out there
Yeah.
have no clue.
No clue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, it was actually my grandmother. Her vehicle was she was out in West Texas, and it's insured with us, and it's a 2003 minivan with like 130,000 miles on it, something like that. I mean, it's definitely an older vehicle, and it got totaled in a hail claim. Basically, they found other underlying damage that would result in basically it took 97% of the value of the vehicle. So Farmers decided to go ahead and total it. And I would say that the settlement that they gave her, if she were to do the check, total, Farmers take her car, or do the check, keep her car, and they, you know, discount it,
Right.
was way more than I thought it was going to be. So it's kind of one of those, it's really a toss-up. I would, personally, if it was my policy and the car was a 2000 or newer, and it had less than 150,000 miles on it, I would probably maintain full coverage. Personally.
That is a great
But
bottom line,
Yeah, it is.
yes.
you know, answer. So I
And
love
that's,
that.
yeah, that's total
Yeah.
personal opinion. But, you know, it's, like I said, it's up to each individual person, and it kind of is just when you come to me and you say, hey, this is the situation, this is how many miles we put on it per year, then we kind of just work as to, okay, maybe this one should be full coverage, this one, let's go ahead and do liability only. So that way we can play with each vehicle. And, you know, sometimes it's cheaper. You say, okay, say you do have like a 2010, you give them a 2010 truck, and they're driving that around, and it's still a good truck, and it might, you know, be worth $10,000
Right.
in salvage value.
Right.
You know, maybe it's something like, well, let's do $1,000 deductible versus a $250 deductible.
Right.
So that way you pay more out, but you're also paying less per month or per every 6 months, however you choose to pay.
Right. That makes
That
sense.
makes sense.
Yes.
One of my biggest takeaways on this, and I'm gonna do it this week, and I promise this, is I'm gonna bring up my policy, and I'm gonna have a conversation with my son. You ask any teenager if they understand their policies, nobody knows what they have, nobody knows how it works.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Mine
Does
either.
Jasmine know
No,
any of how it
Jasmine
works?
has gotten so used to myself and my husband doing everything for her, even though we teach her everything else. But as far as like insurance, I mean, she's never seen it. It comes out of our account automatically. Honestly, and my husband handles the insurance. I've never gotten involved in it, but I had that question of the liability. That's why I threw it out there first, because
Yeah.
I'm still to call and find out and figure that out, because we do have liability only.
Now, I think it's interesting that Bally thinks that they've already taught their daughter everything else. I seriously doubt that.
Called out.
But it's,
I know.
I will say, when I was 16, so until I was 20, almost 21, studying for these tests, that I just knew, okay, if I get into a wreck, my parents told me it's going to be a $250 deductible, and you had to pay the difference in the increase of, you know, whatever the premium would go up to if you got into an accident.
I think we need
And
to
that
do
is
that.
all I
We need
knew.
to do that.
I didn't know what coverages we had, which thankfully, I mean, they had good coverages. And then when I, of course, got licensed and brought their policies over here, I maxed their coverages out. We were saving them a ton per year.
Right.
And you just never know. If a helicopter, if somebody had to be life flighted, it is $25,000 just for that helicopter to get brought out.
See, I
That's not
didn't even
including
know that.
where they
Anything
fly
else.
it to.
I didn't even know that.
That's just for the call out for the helicopter, $25,000.
Wow.
That's just the start.
That's just the start. And
That's
if they're having a
incredible.
helicopter call out,
I need
what are their
to-
medical
I do. I
bills?
need to
Those
tell
are the
my
things that
daughter
make you really
everything.
think.
Yeah, I need to break it all down.
It's
too.
morbid. I mean, it really
Yeah.
is.
Well,
Nobody
maybe
wants
I'll
to
get my
talk about
husband
it,
to break
but-
it all
Yeah.
down because I won't be able to break it all down. I
I
can just make that phone call and say, increase the liability
Yeah,
insurance.
so first you're going to have a sit down with Valerie
Yes.
for her to understand her policy.
Really? Because I don't
And I need the
understand
same thing. I need the same thing. I promise you. I understand the 30, 60, 25, I think is what you mentioned. And I do understand that. I understand collision. I understand, the comprehensive and all
Yeah.
those things. But you've given us so much insight, even for somebody like me who does the shopping in the house for insurance. My wife doesn't handle that piece. But even for somebody like me, there's so much that I'm missing, and that we can use
Well,
this
and
type of
things
advice.
change
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
So we at Farmers try and do what's called a Farmers Friendly Review, and we every year send out something to say, hey, come into the office, call us. Because things change. People have kids. People, their
Right.
kids turn driving age. We need to add them to the policy. They've switched vehicles and they forget to call us.
Right.
Or, hey, this vehicle's now 25 years old. Do maybe we want to rethink about you having full coverage on it? Or, we just try and stay updated with your life.
Right.
So that way you're properly insured and we're keeping it continual, because it's not fun to shop for insurance.
No.
I mean, having to pick up the phone and call and go over it, nobody ever enjoys it. But it's
No.
something that, does definitely need to be done.
Okay, so question for you.
Okay.
What all products do you offer?
Well, that's a really good question. Farmers offers a ton. We offer auto insurance, home insurance, umbrella, which is just an added liability insurance. It protects the auto and home, or if you had a boat or something. On the boat, we offer specialty products. So boats, RVs, campers, you name it. We pretty
Everything.
much offer it.
Commercial as
Commercial
well?
insurance as well. For
good.
a lot of small businesses, restaurants, everything.
See, that's good
Pet
to know.
insurance. That's another one that
You do pet insurance?
we do. Pet insurance.
What does that cover?
That basically covers, you can choose your limits, but
How
say
does
your
that work?
pet
Yeah.
had got hit by a car and had emergency surgery, the pet insurance would reimburse you for your medical bills up to 80, 90, or 100%, whichever package you choose. So you just basically pay like $20 a month, or
See, I didn't
whatever.
even know that.
And if you need it, they reimburse it. I think they might possibly, I would have to double check on if they might reimburse like your annual checkups, just making sure you maintain your pet, things like that. But
See, I didn't even
Interesting.
know that. I didn't even
I
know
had
that
a
about
coworker,
pet.
her dog had to have emergency back surgery. It's like $4,000 or $6,000, I think, in these medical
Really?
bills. And she had 80 or 90%, I forgot which package she had, reimbursed.
Wow.
Wow.
See, I did not know that.
I
That's
didn't
good to
either
know.
until I got told that we had it, and I was like, what?
That's
I
crazy.
mean, we even offer credit cards at Farmers. So we have
You have everything, every product.
We are a one-stop shop, basically.
I didn't even know they did credit cards.
So when somebody approaches you for information, such as what you just mentioned, all these different things, especially when it comes to, recreational items, and, we live in an area that is packed with lakes everywhere.
Yes.
And people love to take out their boats and RVs and all kinds of stuff out there. So, what is the best way for people to approach you for this type of information? And what is the preferred method of communication for you and all of that?
Preferred method of communication really is kind of the common phone, call, text, email. I am on the phone all the time. I have my phone with me. So I'm usually quick at, getting back to somebody via that be text if I'm on another line, or just calling me in general. It's going to get the quote the fastest way. Email, I have my email pulled up all day long, and, they pop up instantly as I go through them. And email is another great method of communication. If it's in the evenings, I will say I probably check my email less, but I try and check it at least one time a night. And but if it's my phone, especially my cell phone, have it with me all the time, no matter where I'm at, and so I can answer it or, you know, shoot a
Right.
text back and say,
Okay.
hey, I'll work on this and I'll get it back over to you. So,
I've got a good question for you, and I know this happens to you in the industry a lot.
Mhm.
What do people that are shop trying to get cheaper and not understanding? Like, how do you break that to tell them that you're not getting a good coverage or
Yeah.
some?
I figured out, and I guess that's also my personality, honesty's the best policy.
Right.
And I'll just lay it to them straight and I'll say, look, farmers, you know, maybe we're not the cheapest right now. You
Right.
can go to Geico and you can save that $30 a month.
Right.
But the coverage you're getting is what you're paying for. So farmers likes to kind of say we're the Cadillac of insurance. So it's not the Kia necessarily. You're not getting the cheapest vehicle. You're
Right.
getting the more luxury vehicle. We're covering more. Just had a walk-in come in. They have another insurance carrier right now that they are not satisfied with. They never can get them on the phone. When they ask for documents, they aren't getting the documents that they are requesting. And, you know, it's always they're calling a 1-800 number. We have my cell phone number.
Right.
So that's what you're getting with me. You're not only getting farmers insurance, but you're getting the McManus
Personal.
agency and you're getting me,
Right.
Haley Elder. And that, I think, you know, speaks mounds that they can call me on my cell
Right.
phone and they feel better going, oh, well, you know, I can just ask her this really quick, or I can just shoot her a text and she's right there in case I need her. And
That makes all the difference in the world.
it does.
It does.
And then farmers claims, I have to say, is phenomenal. I just had a claim and I had
What did you do, Haley?
I got rear-ended and then I hit the person in front of me.
Was that the day that we were going to go have coffee with the cops? No, that was before that, wasn't it?
No, it was after that because it was when I went to Lubbock. I was in Lubbock, headed to go eat.
Wait, you just had something go down with your car prior to that. The day you had a rental car, we were having coffee with the cops.
No.
No, you didn't.
That was a
No,
different
that was my
person.
car.
That was another time that you
I
had
had
it.
a rental car last week at lunch. Last week I had the rental car. The coffee with a cop, that car was mine.
Oh, I could have sworn you got rear-ended then.
Oh, no. No, this is the worst accident ever to be in. And farmers, I mean, what, that was almost 3 weeks ago. I picked my car up on Monday. They had it, they work with Caliber Collision.
Right.
And they had the car in there the next week, paid for, rental, billed directly to farmers. I just walk in, say, here are my keys.
No hassle.
Thank you. Yeah, no hassle. They set it all up for me. They kept me updated in the process. I got texted updates. I got emailed updates. And
Right.
they would call me if they needed something. And I have another friend who went through an accident. He had questions for me. And his, of course, is a little different scenario. It's not his fault. But he's still waiting. Still waiting for their insurance to pay out and his insurance to pay out. And he can't get his car fixed. So he's driving around with it dented. His brand new car. He had it less than 2 weeks. Dented. And, you know,
Still hasn't gotten
still
anything
hasn't gotten
done.
it fixed. And I'm like, I'm sorry to tell you,
Yeah.
but my car's already fixed. I don't, you know.
Yeah,
and
this
it's
is
a
where you get to
luxury.
ask, how do you
They
like your
didn't
premium
even-
now, right?
You ready
I mean,
to talk
No
to me
difference
now?
in- yeah.
Yeah. You went in
Exactly.
there to shop for the cheapest, and that's what you get. You know?
Exactly. And actually, he was like, will you quote me? Just to see. And I'm
Right.
cheaper.
Oh,
I'm
you-
cheaper than
you
what he
still
currently
came out
has.
with it.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
See, that's good. And do you get to shop like through different brokers?
Well, the great thing about Farmers
Mhm.
is Farmers has a company that they own as well called Bristol West
Okay.
and another company called Foremost.
Okay.
So if we cannot write it through Farmers, we always have another source that we can go to, and we have never seen one of those not accept somebody.
Okay. That's when it's probably, maybe there's additional layers of risk, maybe within.
Yeah, so they've
Right.
had multiple tickets, multiple
Right.
accidents.
That's going to be really good for Bally. She needs that kind of
Is she-
coverage.
Knock on wood.
Oh, we've got you covered.
Knock on wood. I haven't had an accident yet.
Oh,
Never
your
know.
speeding
Going home
tickets.
today.
No, I'm just joking. Now, let me ask you one more question regarding something that I think is talked about all the time,
Mhm.
and that is bundling.
Mhm.
You know, we all do it in, from cable, Wi-Fi, internet,
To get the cheapest.
yeah, to any products to be able to get the cheapest. Is it always best to bundle? Is it just as simple as that, or is there more to it?
It pretty much is always that simple. You are going to see any new line of business that you have, whether it be auto paired with home, pair it with life, pair it with commercial insurance if you own a business, pair it with an umbrella. Every time you pair it, you get an added discount. So it depends on what you're pairing, but sometimes it's 5%, sometimes, it's greater if it's auto and home, you get a greater discount.
Right.
But anytime you add a line, you've paired it. And usually any insurance company is going to have they're going to offer that same thing.
Right.
So even if, say, sometimes we'll be the same on auto, $1,000 cheaper a year on the home, and the umbrella is $60 more a year. It's still cheaper overall to pair it with us.
Right.
And you're not calling Farmers for your auto, State Farm for your home, whoever else for your umbrella.
Right.
You have it all in one location, and it makes it easier.
It does make it easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Bundling is a big thing for us, and especially like with mortgage lenders, y'all send us the home, but we can say, hey, by the way,
if you bundle
you bundle it, your home is going to get a better rate.
Right.
And, now you have it all in one place. You probably need to do an insurance review anyways, so let's just go ahead and take a look at it all.
Right.
So that's how we, kind of pair that.
Absolutely, and we've seen it. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, Valley, where
I see it all the time.
we send the clients, and sometimes it works out for you guys to bundle, and sometimes it doesn't. And that's maybe because just the different book of business that the companies have sometimes cater towards savings on new policies, and it doesn't always work out for the client. But for sure, it's at least something that people have to look into.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Question, and this is probably good for a lot of people out there. Is it very important for clients to have great credit to get a great quote for insurance?
It definitely, I would say, plays a huge role.
Okay.
There are a ton of factors that go into insurance, starting from credit, because Farmers has 3 different segmentations, and there's the best, which is preferred, good is standard, and there's non-standard, which would be our subprime. And if you fall into the preferred, you're obviously looking at a better rating.
Right.
But it
Just
also
like
depends.
a mortgage interest rate.
Yeah, on tickets, on accidents, on where your vehicle's garaged at. Some zip codes have less crime, so therefore it gets a better rating in that zip code. There's a lot, but yes, credit definitely, I would say, plays a big role in it.
See, that's good to know.
That's a good question.
Yeah, a lot of customers don't realize that having good credit gets them the best, and then having lower credit scores still impacts you wherever you still shop.
Oh yeah.
It's not just a mortgage.
to
It's
go
not
get a
just
loan,
it's not just a
anything.
mortgage. It's insurance as well,
Mhm.
and other stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know.
Um,
What else did we have?
I think we've covered all these questions. Is there anything that we've missed so far today, or
That's-
something that you want to focus on, that you want to talk about,
That's
that'll be important for your
beneficial.
business?
It's beneficial. Really, anything is beneficial, because everybody who is of driving age or owns a vehicle, they're going to have to drive. Not everybody's a homeowner, but they're eventually going to be a homeowner.
Right.
But everybody has to drive somewhere in some way, shape, or form in the auto industry.
Mhm.
So that's what we definitely, lean towards. So really, I can't really say any business is bad business. Like there's no such thing as bad business when it comes to that. So we just really, we're out there all the time. We're trying to be in front of the face of DFW saying, hey, we're here, let us help you.
Right.
And to really just get our names out there. I know that I'm super young, and so sometimes, being 22 and everybody's like, oh,
Yeah.
you know that much about, wow, okay, you haven't been in the business that long. And I'm like, no, I promise you I haven't, but I will work hard.
I mean, I can tell you already know a lot. I
try.
Well, renters insurance.
Uh-huh.
You guys do that?
Mhm.
Is it the same as like when you bundle a house and cars, you get cheaper insurance? So if you bundle renters and auto, it's the same thing? Good to know.
Yeah. Well, you brought up such a great subject, because I have a really good friend of mine who...
He's about to kick his son out. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
not yet. It's coming.
It's coming.
He's
18.
going to college in about a year. So, but this friend of mine lives in uptown Dallas, and his apartment just completely got ransacked, and they stole maybe a total of $55,000 to $65,000 in valuables between watches and weapons and things that he had recreational, because he's a single guy basically.
Yeah.
So he was telling me that the coverage that he received, unless he would have had it valued, and had an appraiser go in there and look at these specific items, the payouts for these things are minimal to nothing.
Because he has an actual cash value payout policy.
Right.
Which
So
is, yeah, I mean.
explain that to us.
Yeah.
Replacement cost versus cash value is something
Exactly.
very
It's a
important.
huge difference, because especially I can tell with renters policies, they're like, oh yeah, I'll get you $10,000 worth of coverage. Do you think you have $10,000 worth of contents? Oh yeah, I probably don't have more than that. Okay, great. And then they write it. Because 10,000 is cheaper.
Right.
Because it's actual cash value. So I could walk in and go, this table, $15. It has some nicks on it. It's 3 years old. Whatever. $15, and that's what you get. If I was an adjuster, it's not worth $15, guys.
I was just trying to save money.
Just a point, yeah.
Now, Haley, come on.
Whereas replacement cost value is, okay, hey, they took this table, you bought it a year ago. To do this exact table now is $350. We're gonna have to pay you $350.
Right.
So it is a huge ordeal, especially when it comes to homeowners and renters insurance and the contents. I tell my clients, take pictures of the valuable things that you have. If you have valuable jewelry, get it appraised. Do, guys with their Xbox and their gaming systems, and can add up to a few $1,000s real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Just take pictures, have the serial numbers written down. If you have firearms, which I know my family's guilty of this, like we had to type up a list and put the serial numbers in there and keep that on file, taking pictures of every single one. And I know it's time consuming, but it is something
we take so many pictures of everything else on a daily basis.
Exactly.
It's like you can go take
if you
pictures
take
of
that
all the other
selfie
stuff.
today, when you're young and you're selfieing it up, yes.
Yeah.
While you're taking the selfie,
Put
can
your
you
TV
take a
in the
picture of that in the background?
Yeah, like, that way you have it. And of course, that time you walk in and everything's gone. It's missing. Everything. You just got robbed. So it's scary. You're trying to think of the main pieces. You forget stuff.
Right.
So even just to walk in, take a picture of the room. That way you can go, oh, that's right. I had that vase over there that was, a valuable vase, or it was this brand of couch. And it helps not only you, but the claims adjuster in making the whole entire process easier. That way we can get everything back to you that you had.
Right.
So, yeah.
This could take, we could take another 20,
all
30
day,
minutes
yes.
talking about
Exactly.
so many of these things. They're so interesting and so important. And how many takeaways do you have on this already?
A lot. I know.
It's just
I'm
fantastic.
Going to be taking care of that.
I can hardly believe you're 22 years old with as much as you know about your,
you know a lot.
your products.
I do it every day, but I try. I really try and stay on top of things so that way, the easiest way to learn. In the beginning, I did not sound this well rehearsed in insurance. I was like, let me ask.
Exactly.
The more I push myself to learn more and know it. And so I just try and keep it fresh all the time, so that way, if somebody does have a question, I'm like, oh, hey, I can help you out
we
with
just
that.
challenged you with some questions,
You
and
did.
you were able to answer it just like that. We're going to have more
Okay.
challenging
I
ones
held back
next
a little
time.
bit on questions so that
No, I wasn't.
didn't
I
wanna
was
stump
ready.
Haley. No, I'm just-
Hit me with it.
Yeah,
If worse comes to worse, I'll be like, hang on, let me call underwriting really quick.
Hey, it
No,
doesn't
you handled
matter.
it really well.
Yeah,
handled it
you did
really
really
well.
well.
Thank y'all.
Well, guys, this is Haley with Farmers Insurance. We will tag her. That way, if you guys have any questions, you can reach her directly. I'm Bally Mendels, and this is...
This is Edgar Vasquez, and so reach out Haley Elder. Her phone number, her cell phone number is 903-985-6567. So
Yeah, and
reach out
post
to her.
we can tag that in the comments, I think.
I think
Yes,
it will be
we
a great
will.
Yeah, send
idea.
a
We'll
So
do
picture
that.
of my business
people can
card
reach
and-
out to you very
Yeah.
easily.
We'll
Thank you
tag
so
them.
much, Haley. We really
You're
appreciate you being
welcome.
here.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.